Hello, I am here today to talk to you about the Understanding by Design template that has been created by our instructor. The first stage is where we identify the desired results. So I'm going to scroll up here. So, stage one, desired results, and the course unit summary. So, what we want to do in the course unit summary is you want to decide what subject you're going to design this course for. You're going to give the class a name. How long is this going to run? What grade levels are we talking about, whether it be K through 12 or adult education? Keywords that will be used to describe this class, and also whether it's a school district, a university, an organization, if it should be a private company, things like that. Also, the school department in the corporation. Types of schools and organizations. You've got public, private, charter, corporations, company training, and other. Pretty self-explanatory. If there's a textbook, we want to make sure that the textbook is included in this, and then the links to online resources if students would need online resources is there. So the unit is actually what we are going to teach. So, like, I chose RSI for intubation. So my title would be RSI. The unit time frame was we're talking about an hour for this class, and where does this unit fit into the class? So this is just one part of intubations and difficult airways. Unit delivery. This is face to face, online, blended, hands-on, and for the unit that I chose, we're doing face-to-face and hands-on skills as well. The course design describes why are you developing this course, and is it a course project? Is it something that a teacher has come to you to ask you to develop? Is it part of a team developing the course where you're just developing, like I would be developing RSI for an airway management class, and somebody else would be doing, the anatomy of the airway, things like that. The time frame that it is teaching, and then the level of expertise. Subject matter expert is, this the subject. Future instructor, and then course design as well. So the unit summary. So this is where you're going to give an overview of of what the course is, and you want to use simple words. Now, we were instructed to use words a fifth grader can understand. Um, so you want to put things. You don't want to use a lot of medical jargon in this. If since I'm doing the RSI, I would want to use as plain of English as I could to make sure that somebody could understand what the overview of the course is, what we're going to do with it, and everything else. Now we get into the big idea. So, what is the big idea of this course that you're going to develop? So for RSI, the big idea would be to give people the confidence and the ability to do first passes of tubes for RSI to increase the likelihood or the survivability of a patient. That would be my whole statement right there. So professional organizations for content is what the designer will use to set the standards and competencies that guide the development of this course. So each professional organization has some sort of standard or competencies that you have to teach to or you have to follow. So these are what we would use to design this class. And those standards would go down here is where it says standard and competencies. Most standards have codes, so you would put the first code here, and then how the standard read here. This is what will give validity to your class, is teaching to a standard and competencies so that an employer, when they go to hire students or when they go to view your course, they see that you have the quality and the validity, that you're using the standards and you're using the standards accurately in order to teach this class. These are very important. Without the standards or competencies, it is very hard to get validity of your class. Um, it would be almost impossible for somebody to use your class without a standard or competency for uh, anything like a hiring process, or anything that you have to show competency in this, but the class never went over that. So that is what we talk about, standard and competencies, and the organizations that establish those. So you need both the organization and the standard and competency, the standard or the competency that follows what you're trying to teach. So this leaves us with the important parts of this design: transfer, meaning, and acquisition. So, transfer is what it is that we want students to take away from this training course or this classroom. It is what they need to be able to recall and transfer using into different situations in the real world. And that's the most important part, is we want them to be able to use this in the real world, in real world settings, so that they can remember, or they can get through life. So we're going to answer real world questions. Sorry about that. And we're going to start with, students will be able to use their learning independently too. And what we want to use is, um, let me see if I can do this. And it may not let me. So this is Bloomberg's taxonomy, and I'm just going to leave this set right here. So, just to talk about the essential questions that we're going to ask, we want to be able to trigger that higher learning. So that higher learning is analyze, evaluate, and create. So we want students to be able to analyze what they've learned, to be able to use it to figure out problems in the real world. We want them to be able to evaluate those real world problems and make their learning fit to what we've taught them. And then we want them to be able to come up with creative answers and create solutions for problems. So that's what transfer is all about. Now, meaning is, we want these essential questions based on the analyze, evaluate, and create, um, from Bloom's taxonomy. We want to uh, ask questions that is going to be thought provoking and make them want to learn about what we're teaching. So, we've got to use words that, that would be, the students will be able to analyze, the student will be able to evaluate, the student will be able to create, something like that, so that they can trigger that higher thinking and make those recall pathways so that they can recall information when needed at future dates. Understanding, you know, uh, as you can read, this says be specific. Do you want to be specific to what you want the students to understand? So, we want to put in a question, students will understand that. And this is all based on the competencies in the code. So this all correlates to those competencies and standards that we've highlighted in the beginning. All these questions, the transfer, the meaning, the understanding, the acquisition, the skills, all comes back to those. if it says you will be able to screw a light bulb in, you know, all of your understanding, all of your acquisition, transfer knowledge has to be geared towards that competency. You know, how are you going to make those students be able to do that and be able to recall it whenever they need it? Acquisition, this is what we want the students to remember. The students will know whatever. And skills. Now, um, acquisition and skills can be done with technology. They can be done with hands-on. They can be done cognitively. Um, for classes, since this is a uh, instructional design class and we use a lot of technology, our acquisition and skills are geared towards technology. So students are going to be able to use you know Google Forms to create a test that's automatically graded, like you'll see at the end of the program. Um, those are the skills that we want our students to have. So that is why we have all those. So that is just a basic nutshell of the stage one. Stay tuned for stage two and stage three immediately following this. And thank you for listening.